The city of Vanar Prime once shone with spires of marble and steel, proud under the banner of the Imperium of Man. Its people bustled through streets lined with statues of the Emperor, their faith a shield against despair. But that was before the sky split open. For weeks, whispers had slithered through the underhive. People spoke of blood cults forming in the sewers, of strange runes painted in ash upon the walls. At first, the Adeptus Arbites dismissed it as criminal superstition. But then came the thunder. One night, the heavens screamed. A crimson rift tore through the void, bleeding fire and madness. From it descended drop pods blackened with warp fire, their hulls scrawled with profane sigils. The air itself turned sour, choking mortals with the taste of iron and ash. And from those pods emerged the nightmares of humanity's past, Chaos Space Marines. Once noble warriors of the Emperor, now corrupted giants, their armor warped with spikes and demonic flesh. Their every step was a drumbeat of doom. Civilians fled. The PDF regiments scrambled to hold choke points, lost guns rattling in vain against ceramite plates. But it was slaughter. Chaos Marines did not march like soldiers. They hunted like predators. They laughed as they crushed men beneath armored boots, their chain blades howling through bone. In the chaos, one man ran, not out of cowardice but out of desperate survival. His name was Jonas Kale, a Medici sergeant of the Imperial Guard. He had seen war before, patching wounds on the front lines, but nothing could prepare him for this. To Jonas, the enemy was no longer flesh and blood. They were monsters. He ducked into an alley, clutching his lost pistol, breathing ragged. Above him, a Chaos Marine's vox-distorted laughter echoed, deep and metallic. "Run, little prey, run. The hunt has only begun." Jonas's heart froze. They weren't here to conquer the city. They were here to hunt, and he was prey. Jonas pressed his back against the cold ferrocrete wall. The city around him screamed, sirens, gunfire, and the wails of the dying. Smoke choked the air, lit by flashes of bolter fire. Somewhere close, a heavy explosion rattled the street, shaking loose bricks from above. But the sound that made his blood turn to ice was slower, heavier. Footsteps, not hurried, not uncertain, deliberate, methodical, hunting. Jonas dared a glance around the corner. His stomach dropped. A Chaos Space Marine stood in the street, towering in crimson and brass armor etched with skulls. His helmet's eye lenses glowed like burning coals. In one gauntlet, he carried a chain axe slick with gore. In the other, a bolt pistol the size of a child. He wasn't charging into battle. He was savoring the silence, head turning side to side as if sniffing out prey. Jonas ducked back, holding his breath. His pulse hammered so loud he feared it would betray him. He had treated men gutted by shrapnel, men screaming for their mothers on the front lines. But this was different. This was hopelessness made flesh. Suddenly, the Marine's vox grill crackled, voice dripping with malice. "I smell your fear, mortal. Do not waste my time with hiding." Jonas nearly bolted, but then another sound cut through the night. The rattling stutter of autogun fire. A squad of PDF soldiers emerged from a nearby hab block, yelling as they opened fire on the giant. The Marine turned slowly, almost amused. Bolter raised. One deafening tum. Later, a soldier's chest exploded into mist. Another tried to run, but the chain axe caught him mid-scream, cleaving him in half. The rest broke and fled. Jonas wanted to look away, but he couldn't. He was watching not a battle, but a performance. The Marine was toying with them, letting them think they had a chance before ripping it away. Then, as if sensing Jonas's gaze, the Chaos Marine's head snapped toward his hiding place. The glowing lenses locked with his eyes, even through shadow. Jonas's breath caught. "There you are." The giant began to walk toward the alley. Jonas ran. Jonas sprinted down the narrow alley, boots slamming against cracked stone. His lungs burned, each breath scraping like knives. Behind him, the thunder of armored footsteps followed, steady, unhurried, relentless. The Chaos Marine knew he would tire. They always tired. The alley ended in a collapsed wall. Jonas scrambled over rubble, cutting his hands on jagged metal, but he didn't care. Pain was better than death. He landed hard on the other side, rolling into the street. The city was unrecognizable now. Fires climbed the spires, throwing monstrous shadows across the plaza. Statues of the emperor had been defiled, heads smashed, wings broken, blood smeared over marble faces. The air stank of smoke and warp taint, a sickly metallic taste that clung to the tongue. Jonas ducked behind a burned-out transport carrier just as the Marine stepped into the plaza. The giant's silhouette glowed against the flames, axe dangling casually at his side. He turned his head slowly, scanning, hunting. Jonas pressed his back against the metal, forcing himself to stay still. His hand gripped the lost pistol at his belt. Useless, he knew. A lost bolt might sting, might scorch paint from that cursed armor, but it wouldn't stop him. From the shadows nearby, someone whimpered. Jonas's heart froze. A woman crawled from beneath debris, clutching a child to her chest. Dirt smeared her face, eyes wide with terror. She didn't see Jonas. She only saw the Marine. The Marine's Vox grill rumbled in grotesque laughter. "Ah, little lambs." He raised the bolt pistol. Jonas acted before he thought. He leapt from cover, firing his lost pistol wildly. Red bolts sparked harmlessly off the Marine's pauldrons, but the sudden defiance made the monster pause. Bold for prey. Jonas shouted, "Run!" The woman didn't hesitate. She scrambled away with the child as Jonas emptied his charge pack. The Marine turned toward him fully now, chain axe roaring to life. Jonas's legs screamed to run, but he stood frozen, staring at death itself. The Marine charged. At the last instant, a roar split the air. Not from the Marine, but from above. A streak of blue light crashed into the plaza, slamming into the Chaos Warrior with the force of a meteor. Jonas was thrown to the ground by the shockwave. When he looked up, his breath caught. A towering figure in cobalt armor stood between him and the monster. The symbol of the Ultramarines gleamed on his pauldron. A loyalist space marine. The plaza trembled as giant faced giant. Jonas could hardly comprehend what he was seeing. Two titans of legend now faced one another in the burning plaza. The loyalist marine was a wall of cobalt steel, his chainsword roaring as he pointed it at the heretic. His Vox grill boomed like thunder. "In the name of the Emperor, you shall fall, traitor." The Chaos Marine laughed, a sound that made the ground itself shiver. His armor shifted grotesquely, runes glowing with warp light. "You think your corpse god will protect you here? This world is ours." They clashed, chainsword against chain axe. The screech of teeth on teeth deafened Jonas. Sparks rained as each strike sent shockwaves through the plaza. The loyalist moved with discipline, controlled, precise. The heretic swung with brutal strength. Each blow meant to shatter bone and stone alike. Jonas scrambled back, shielding his face from the spray of debris. To stand near them was to stand near a storm. The loyalist struck first blood, carving a deep groove through the Chaos Marine's pauldron. Black ichor hissed as it touched the ground. The traitor snarled, pushing back with a savage headbutt that cracked ceramite. Both staggered, then lunged again, locked in a duel older than memory. Jonas thought of running. This was not his fight. He was nothing compared to them. But then he saw the child and mother hiding in the shadows, clutching each other. They had no chance if the loyalist fell. The fight grew more vicious. The Chaos Marine slammed the loyalist against a crumbling statue, nearly breaking him. The Ultramarine countered with a bolt pistol round that blew chunks of corrupted armor into the air. Neither would yield. Suddenly, the Chaos Marine roared, his axe cleaving downward with unnatural fury. The loyalist caught the blow on his chainsword, but the force cracked the blade, sparks flying. Jonas's stomach turned cold. The traitor pressed closer, mocking, "Your emperor is a rotting husk. Your duty is ash. Die with him." The loyalist's voice came through the Vox, unwavering despite the struggle. "I will die on my feet, heretic, but you will die on your knees." With a surge of strength, he shoved the traitor back, but the Chaos Marine only laughed, armor glowing brighter, veins of warp energy spreading like fire. Jonas realized the traitor was not fighting alone. Something darker was feeding him, and if the Ultramarine fell, the hunt would claim them all. Ground shook beneath Jonas as the duel raged on. The clash of ceramite and demonic steel echoed like thunder through the burning city. Each strike sent cracks racing through the Ferrocrete Plaza. Each roar was a hymn to war. Jonas crouched behind the wreck of the transport, clutching his useless lost pistol, torn between terror and duty. He was no warrior, he was a Medici sergeant, trained to mend the broken, not to fight gods in steel. And yet, he saw the Ultramarine falter. The Chaos Warrior had grown stronger, his armor glowing with veins of crimson warp fire, his axe screeching as if alive. Each swing forced the Loyalist back, sparks raining as the chainsword struggled to hold. Jonas's gut twisted. If the Ultramarine fell, the woman and her child would die screaming. He would die screaming. And worse, the Chaos Marines would turn the entire hive into a slaughterhouse. The Loyalist staggered to one knee, blood spilling from a crack in his armor. The traitor raised his axe high, gloating. "Behold, mortal, see how your heroes fall. Your faith is nothing." Jonas's breath caught. He had seconds to decide. He could run, hide in the ruins, cling to a few more hours of life before the hunters found him. Or he could act, even if it meant death. His eyes darted to the wreck beside him. A half-crushed fuel canister lay exposed, its contents leaking, glistening in the firelight. A single shot might ignite it. Jonas swallowed hard. His hands trembled as he aimed the lost pistol. He whispered a prayer he barely remembered from childhood, the one his mother had taught him before conscription. "The Emperor protects." He fired. The bolt struck true. The canister exploded in a blossom of fire and shrapnel. The shockwave hurled Jonas onto his back, ears ringing. The Chaos Marine staggered, flames washing over his armor. For the first time, the monster roared not in triumph, but in pain. The Ultramarine seized the moment. With a cry that shook the plaza, he drove his broken chainsword straight into the traitor's chest, twisting it deep. Sparks, blood, and warp light erupted as the heretic howled. The two giants toppled together, locked in a death embrace. The plaza fell silent, save for the crackle of flames. Jonas lay gasping, smoke filling his lungs. His ears still rang, his vision blurred. But when he focused, he saw it. The Chaos Marine, motionless, black ichor pooling beneath him. The Ultramarine, kneeling, armor shattered but unyielding. The Loyalist turned his helmet toward Jonas. His voice came low, strained, but resolute. "You fought well, guardsman. You gave me the chance I needed. Never forget this night. Chaos will return, and you must endure." Jonas's chest tightened. He wasn't sure if it was pride or despair. Perhaps both, because the hunt wasn't over. Not for him, not for the city. Somewhere in the burning streets, more Chaos Marines roared their war cries. The shadows stretched long, and Jonas knew this was only the beginning. The city. Jonas stumbled to his feet, coughing smoke from his lungs. His ears still rang from the explosion, but his eyes scanned the plaza. The Chaos Marine's corpse lay burning, armor cracking as warp energies bled out in shrieks too terrible for words. The Ultramarine remained kneeling, battered yet alive, chainsword still buried in his foe's chest. Jonas approached cautiously. "My lord, are you?" The Marine raised a hand, silencing him. His vox grill rasped like grinding iron. "There is no time for me. The traitors are not alone. More will come. You must find the survivors and lead them from this place." Jonas froze. "Me? I'm just a..." "You stood against the dark. You acted when others would have cowered. That is enough. Go." The Loyalist rose unsteadily, blood dripping from rents in his armor. He turned his helm toward the burning streets. Distantly, the guttural laughter of Chaos Marines echoed through the hive, mixed with the cries of the hunted. Jonas swallowed his fear. He glanced toward the shadows where the woman and child still hid. Their faces reflected firelight, eyes wide with desperate hope. He nodded to them. "Stay close to me. They moved through the ruins together, weaving between rubble and fire, the sounds of war never far behind. Bodies littered the streets, civilians cut down where they fled, soldiers broken and scattered. The stench of death hung heavy. In a shattered hablock, Jonas found others, a handful of survivors, PDF troopers bloodied but breathing, a priest clutching a cracked tequila, a group of terrified citizens. Their eyes turned to him when he entered, the mother and child at his side. "Chaos is hunting us," Jonas said, his voice harsher than he intended. "If we stay here, we die. There's an evacuation point at the spaceport. If we move fast, we might reach it." The priest spoke, voice trembling but firm. "The Emperor guides us. Perhaps he sent you." Jonas almost laughed at the irony. Him, a guide? He wanted nothing more than to collapse and vanish. But the weight of their stares anchored him. The Ultramarines' words echoed in his mind. "You acted when others cowered." He nodded. "Then we move." They slipped into the burning streets. Every shadow felt alive, every echo a warning. Above, the sky burned crimson, warp rift bleeding its madness into the stars. And behind them, faint but growing closer, came the sound Jonas dreaded most. The deliberate, crushing footsteps of Chaos Space Marines. The hunt was far from over. The survivors moved in silence, every step a prayer against discovery. Jonas led them through the skeleton of the Hive city, weaving between collapsed walls and burning habblocks. The mother clutched her child tightly. The priest whispered litanies under his breath, and the PDF troopers scanned every shadow with shaking hands on their rifles. Above them, the sky was torn by the warp rift, bleeding crimson storms and whispering voices that clawed at the mind. Even the strongest among them flinched when the whispers grew too loud, as if chaos itself mocked their fear. Jonas raised a hand, halting the group. His heart pounded as he heard it again, the sound that now haunted him like a curse. Footsteps, slow, heavy, deliberate. The survivors froze, their faces pale as corpses. Somewhere nearby, armored boots crushed glass and ash. The sound echoed between ruined streets, impossible to pin down. A trooper whispered shakily, "It's them." Jonas's mouth went dry. He motioned for silence, leading them into the shell of a manufactorum. Rusted machines towered above, their skeletal frames glowing faintly in the firelight. They crouched in the shadows, praying the ruins would shield them. For a heartbeat, there was nothing but the crackle of flames. Then a deep, distorted voice rolled through the air, amplified by a vox grill. "Little prey, come out. We smell your fear. We hear your hearts." The child whimpered. The mother clamped a hand over his mouth, tears streaking her face. Jonas clenched his jaw. He knew the Chaos Marines weren't just searching. They were toying with them, savoring the terror. The PDF trooper, nerves breaking, raised his autogun. "We can't just sit here," he hissed. "We'll be slaughtered." Jonas grabbed his arm. "You fire and we're all dead." Too late. A shadow moved at the far end of the manufactorum, tall, armored, monstrous. Red eyes glowed in the dark. The Chaos Marine stepped into view, massive chain blade purring in his grip. Another appeared behind him, and another. 3 hunters. Jonas's breath caught. They weren't searching. They were closing in. The priest clutched his Aquila, whispering louder now, "The Emperor protects. The Emperor protects." But Jonas knew the truth in his bones. The Emperor was far away. Here, in the ashen ruin, there was only the hunt. And the hunters had found them. The manufactorum became a tomb. The 3 Chaos Marines fanned out, their armored steps shaking the floor. The survivors clung to the shadows, breaths shallow, as the hunters stalked closer. Jonas's mind raced. They couldn't fight. They couldn't hide. There was only one option. "Run," he whispered. The word had barely left his lips before the first Marine roared, chain blade screaming as he tore through a rusted machine. Sparks showered the floor as the survivors bolted in terror. The Marines laughed, deep, guttural, mocking. Bolter fire erupted, shells exploding against the walls, shredding stone and flesh alike. A trooper was blown apart in a cloud of blood. Another fell screaming, his leg ripped away. The survivors scattered, panic breaking their formation. Jonas grabbed the mother's arm, pulling her and the child toward a side passage. "This way!" he shouted, though his voice was nearly drowned by the carnage. Behind them, the priest tried to shield the others, raising his cracked tequila high. His voice thundered in desperate faith. "The Emperor is with us. You shall not." A bolt shell tore him in half mid-sentence, silencing his prayer forever. Jonas shoved the image aside, forcing his legs to move faster. They plunged into the dark passage, bolter rounds detonating around them, dust and fire raining from above. The child screamed. Jonas risked a glance back. One of the Chaos Marines was pursuing, massive form crashing through walls instead of using doors. The monster's Vox Grill growled, every word dripping hunger. "You run well, little prey, but you cannot run forever." The survivors burst into an open courtyard, half collapsed under bombardment. Fires raged in the corners, casting everything in hellish orange. Jonas pushed the mother and child behind cover, then turned with his pistol. He fired, again and again. The red bolts splashed harmlessly against the Marine's armor, like raindrops on iron. The giant didn't even slow. Jonas's hands shook. His charge pack was almost dry. He backed up step by step until his boots hit rubble. The Chaos Marine loomed closer, chain blade revving, the sound echoing like a hungry beast. The hunt had caught up. Jonas's back hit the rubble, nowhere left to go. His pistol hummed with the last sputter of its dying charge. The Chaos Marine loomed before him, chain blades snarling like a beast eager to feed. The air around the giant rippled with the stink of blood and warp taint. The Marine tilted his head, mocking. "So small, so fragile, yet you dare to resist us. I will savor your screams." He raised the chain blade high. Jonas's knees nearly buckled. His whole body screamed to collapse, to give in. But behind him, he heard the child whimper and the mother whispered desperate prayers. Something hardened inside him. He wasn't a hero, wasn't a soldier meant for legends. But if his death bought them even a heartbeat more, it was enough. He drew his combat knife, pathetic against the Titan before him, and stood his ground. "Come on then," he whispered, voice hoarse. "You'll have to work for it." The Chaos Marine roared, bringing the blade down, and the ground shook with a thunderous crash. A bolt of blue steel slammed into the traitor's side, knocking him sprawling into the fire. Jonas blinked through the smoke, his chest filled with something like awe. The Ultramarine had returned. He was broken, armor cracked, blood seeping through rents in his chest plate, but he stood tall. His bolter barked thunder, shells exploding against the Chaos Warrior's helm. He advanced with grim inevitability, every step a refusal to die. "Back, heretic! This world will not fall while a son of the Emperor still breathes." The Chaos Marine rose from the flames, snarling. Half his armor melted, but his fury undimmed. The duel reignited in the courtyard, chainsword against chainblade, every strike rattling the earth. Jonas staggered back, dragging the mother and child with him. His ears rang, his vision blurred, but he couldn't tear his eyes away. Two titans clashed in the fire, each strike a hymn of hatred and faith. The loyalist fought not for himself, but for those too small to fight. The traitor fought for cruelty, for hunger, for the dark gods who feasted on mortal despair. And caught between them, Jonas realized something chilling. The Chaos Marine wasn't here to kill quickly. He was here to break their hope, to make them believe no savior could stand against chaos. And if the Ultramarine fell, the hunt would devour them all. The courtyard had become an arena of gods. Sparks showered the ruins as the two giants clashed, their weapons shrieking like tortured beasts. Each strike carved stone and sent shockwaves rippling through the survivors huddled in terror. The Ultramarine fought with grim resolve, his chainsword sputtering but still biting deep. The Chaos Marine, aflame with warp energy, pressed harder with every blow. Their roars echoed across the burning hive. Jonas pressed the woman and child against the shattered wall. "Stay low. Don't move," He turned back to the fight. His lost pistol was empty, his knife useless, yet he couldn't tear himself away. The Chaos Marine swung high, smashing the Ultramarine against the courtyard's broken statue of the Emperor. Marble cracked. The Loyalist staggered, dropping to one knee. His armor smoked, fluids leaking. The traitor laughed, Vox grill booming. "See, Prey? Your savior bleeds like the rest. Watch as hope dies." He raised his chain blade for the killing strike. Jonas's heart lurched. He saw it unfolding. Another protector slain, chaos triumphant, the survivors butchered. Unless his gaze fell on the ground near the wreckage. A fallen trooper's frag grenade, half buried in ash. Jonas didn't think. He sprinted. The Chaos Marine's head snapped toward him. "Insect!" he roared, swinging his chain blade. Jonas dove, rolling under the massive strike, rubble exploding where he'd stood. His fingers closed on the grenade. He ripped the pin free and, with every ounce of strength and terror in his soul, hurled it straight at the traitor's exposed chest. The blast tore through the night. Shrapnel punched into corrupted armor, staggering the Marine backward. Warp fire spewed from ruptured plating. The Ultramarine seized the chance. With a roar that shook the ruins, he surged to his feet and drove his chainsword into the traitor's throat. Teeth screeched, armor split, black ichor sprayed. The Chaos Marine convulsed, gurgling fury, before the blade ripped clean through. The traitor collapsed, his body thrashing as warp energies shrieked from the corpse, sucked screaming back into the rift above. Then silence. The courtyard burned, the only sound the ragged breathing of the survivors. Jonas dropped to his knees, grenade smoke still stinging his lungs. He stared at the fallen Chaos Marine, disbelief flooding him. He had stood against the impossible and lived. The Ultramarine limped forward, towering even in his broken state. He placed a massive gauntlet on Jonas's shoulder, his Vox voice low but resolute. "You are no mere prey. Remember this, guardsman. Chaos hunts us all. But even prey can wound the predator." Jonas bowed his head, unable to speak. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't a hero. But for one heartbeat in the ashes of Vanar Prime, he had made a difference. And in Warhammer's endless darkness, that was enough. The corpse of the Chaos Marine still smoldered in the courtyard, its armor hissing with foul vapors as warp energy leaked away. The survivors didn't linger. They knew more hunters prowled the city. Jonas tightened his grip on the lost pistol, empty, useless, but comforting in his hand. The mother clutched her child, the boy's eyes wide, too young to understand yet old enough to feel terror. A single wounded PDF trooper limped behind them, face pale, weapon shaking. The Ultramarine walked at their head, every step a labor. His armor was cracked, one pauldron hanging loose, and blackened blood streaked his greaves. Yet he moved with the weight of unbreakable purpose. His massive frame was a shield for the mortals at his back. They made their way through burning avenues, skirting craters where bombardments had torn the hive apart. Smoke coiled into the blood-red sky. The whispers of the warp echoed in their skulls, promising pain, mocking their struggle. The spaceport lay ahead, its spires once gleaming, now aflame. Dropships lay in ruin, their hulls shredded. Chaos banners flapped from broken towers, marked with 8-pointed stars and runes that burned the eyes. Jonas's stomach sank. If the port was lost, their escape was gone. The Ultramarine raised a gauntlet hand, signaling them to halt. His Vox voice crackled. "The traitors hold the port, but if even one vessel remains, you must reach it." Jonas frowned. "You mean we?" The Marine turned his helm slightly, red lenses catching firelight. "My wounds will slow me. I will hold them. You will lead these souls." Jonas's chest tightened. The thought of leaving him felt wrong, like abandoning a mountain that had held back the sea. But before he could argue, a sound cut through the air. Laughter. It rolled across the ruins, guttural and cruel. Shadows moved atop the broken towers. Chaos Marines, more than 3 this time. Perhaps a squad. Perhaps more. Jonas's blood turned to ice. The hunt wasn't finished. It was only gathering. The ultramarine drew himself to full height, chains words sputtering but still alive. They come. Guardsmen, take the survivors. Run. Do not look back. Jonas swallowed hard. His legs wanted to freeze. His soul wanted to flee. But when he turned and saw the mother, the child, the wounded soldier staring at him, waiting for him, he forced himself to nod. "Come on," he whispered, voice breaking. "This way." And as the night split with bolter fire and the ultramarine roared his defiance, Jonas led the survivors into the ruins once more, with chaos howling close behind. The hunt was not over. It would never be over. But as long as they ran, as long as they endured, the prey still lived.